Guys, I want to wrap up this whole thing about the legal doctrines in the U.S. and American legal system by basically emphasizing the last point I've been making. I was saying that the American legal system has enough flexibility to adjust to different challenges. So this kind of legal flexibility combined with democracy, I think is very efficient, more efficient than the Chinese system. So I'm gonna. Oh, by the way, today I saw many comment and observations, mostly by the Chinese and American. They were praising the big military parade, and then the basic tone has been proud. Which I understand, but on the other hand, I've seen some American military leaders have been saying there's nothing to be worried about, and we're not deterred, we're still leading. I think both sides, there's some truth, but both sides have dangerously misunderstanding each other. I think on the Chinese side, we have to admitted that the Chinese military mighty has been increasing, and in terms of manufacturing capabilities, I think it's far above the U.S. part. Okay, so this one we have to admit. On the other hand, I think the American military leaders been saying that there's nothing to be worried. I disagree. We do need to worry about it. Okay, because we have to admit that the manufacturing muscles of the U.S. has been far lagging behind. We have to admit it, then we can, make us to be more aware of the situation and take some steps. I think, both Biden and the Trump administration has been trying to increase the American military power, which is good. I really hope that, both the U.S. and China can get along, no war between these two biggest military power. I think that to a certain extent that the Chinese military muscle has not been fully recognized. People are still thinking that Putin can do more than Xi Jinping in terms of manufacturing advanced weapons. I think the Ukraine war has been telling us that Putin's power is really limited. But on the other hand, the Chinese military power has been underestimated. I really would be worried if American underestimate the Chinese the military power, and then end up easily trying to invade even like South China Sea or Taiwan or something like that. In those areas, that would cause disaster. I really would want the way to do that. The way for both sides to see each other is to have a objective, kind of a neutral assessment of each other's power. Okay, I guess especially on the American side, you need to understand. You need to see that China is not what it was yesterday. Even 5 years ago, right? Every year China is making big progress. So to say nothing to be worried about, it's wrong. We do need to worry about it. So that's why to have an objective, neutral, cold-hearted, or not cold-hearted, the objective assessment is to helping us to stay in the peace course, not even trying to get into war. I think I have to understand that. I think I have to admit that China, Chinese leader, I think they want them to be celebrated is that they don't want to have a conflict with American, or even with a lot of countries. I guess to a certain extent, we need to worry more about Netanyahu, far more about Netanyahu than Chinese Xi Jinping, because China has shown some constraint. Okay, they are it's better for them to show the weapon in the military parade than in the battlefield, right? So that's one thing that's something that we can celebrate. So this is just a little bit by the side, okay? So back to the American legal system. I think one thing good is that, like I said, over time or in the long run, that the American legal system can adjust itself. I guess one of the best examples is look at California. When we look at the property taxes, California is a kind of a pretty dramatic measures when it comes to how to handle the property tax. Property tax, by the way, is not charged by the state, it's more like by local. So we call it a SORT, state and local tax. So property tax is charged by local government. But that's is an important part of a tax system. California did something interesting. Basically, two propositions. One is Proposition 13, and there's 19. The 13 is basically, if you will, they really separate from the market system, from free market system. That's why both China and the U.S. Their ideological rhetoric aside, both countries are not. It's definitely like not China. It's a evil country. The Americans, everything's capitalism. No, there is no such a thing like that. Both countries are trying to get the best of both worlds. Okay, you get both. I guess ever since Trump has been trying to do like a state capitalism, but China has been doing that alone. But basically, both China and the U.S. are doing what they can to make the economy grow. So the Proposition 13 basically says no matter how the market price for the real estate, for the housing market, the law says that you can only grow by 2%. And then no matter how high is the value of the real estate market, you can only charge the property tax for 1%. So those are the 2% and 1%, obviously very different from the market reality. Okay, but that's the law. Then people voted for it. That's why I said that the legal system combined with the democracy, it's really powerful. Why? Because they let people decide. So unlike China, it's like let Xi Jinping decide everything. That's dangerous, very vulnerable. You let people decide that the risk, the liability is spread among all the people. Nobody can really say anything because it's people's will. You have to respect it, right? So anyway, so basically that's what the idea is. But Proposition 19 has been trying to kind of change the course a little bit. Why? Because one thing that California is famous, it's about house rich and cash poor. House rich meaning that they're living in the $1 million houses, especially go to LA, go to Bay Area, you see so many $1 million houses. However, on the other hand, they are cash poor. Their houses increase value, but they're sitting in the illiquid asset. They can't sell it. And then so Proposition 19 kind of trying to fix that, especially by they basically allow anybody age 55 with a disability or being the victim of a wildfire, those kind of things. They allow them to move to any other country or any other places within California as long as they sell the price, they sell their existing house. For example, a typical example is that somebody living in San Francisco, and then they can sell the house and move to Sacramento, right? So they, the law, Proposition 19 says you can carry your, same tax rate, the same assessment rate, and then you can live in somewhere else. Obviously, they're trying to improve the house rich cash poor situation to make the real estate market more lively, more liquid. Okay, but on the other hand, we have partly because of the COVID, and partly because the interest rate, we haven't seen a significant effect. We still, living in the age of house rich and the cash poor. In fact, a lot of people, they are house rich. They can still get CareFresh, which is a food stamp, and you can still get a Medicare. So that's kind of a ridiculous situation. I would probably say that it's better to let the market decide, and then we can, just like we charge different tax rate. Some rich household, they can, get them, let them sell their house, and then, but if you're low income house, we don't, raise the assessment value and also tax rate. So this kind of thing, but it's determined, it's decided by voting, and then you can't really say much. So, but I'm just using this example to say that the legal system can change if they want to, if people decided to change it. So that's the end of it.